Hi everyone, welcome to our training course for the PLOS iGEM project. It's tips and advice for the online peer review Jamboree. There are 3 parts to our course today. The first part will be Peer Review 101, where we'll be talking about peer review in general, what it means and what people are looking for when they're reviewing papers. Then we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing in the Jamboree and how that's different from traditional forms of peer review. And then we'll also be taking you through the tools on the Breezio platform and how they'll work for the Jamboree itself. So now I'm going to hand over to my colleague Alejandra, who's going to take us through Peer Review 101.
Okay, thank you, Nathaniel. So first of all, a definition on what peer review is. So peer review is the evaluation of work by one or more people of similar competence to the producer of the work. So these are your peers. It constitutes a form of self-regulation by qualified members of the profession within the relevant field. And peer review methods are there mainly to maintain standards of quality, to improve performance, and to provide a credibility to your work. In academia, scholarly peer review is often used to determine an academic paper suitability for publication. So the peer review process, this is a schematic, a very simplified schematic of what a peer review process looks like. So all of you as scientists will be studying a very interesting question that you're all interested in. When you will have carried out experiments to try to address a specific research question. And when you have results, negative or positive, and you want to share it to the rest of the world, you will write it in the form of a scientific research article. So this is the second bit. Scientists write about the results, and then they send it to a journal. The journal editor first checks it to make sure that it has come to the right journal, and then they do a series of very basic technical checks before they send it to the peer reviewer. So these are your peers who will read the article and provide feedback back to the editor. The editor then examines the comments from the peer reviewers, and depending on their comments, the nature of their comments, they can do one of 3 things. If the comments are all positive, the paper will get an acceptance decision. In most cases, there are issues that need to be addressed by the scientists, so they will be sent back. The paper will be sent back to the researcher, to the author, for them to address the specific comments raised by the reviewers. And this takes form of a major or minor revision. And in some cases, the comments are rather negative. And in those cases where the article doesn't really maintain the high scientific standards, it will be rejected. So in the next slide, we have the types of peer review that exist. The most common one is single blind, where the name of the authors are listed on the paper, but the reviewers remain anonymous. The second type that exists is double blind. This is less common. So the reviewer remains anonymous and the author as well. In some cases, this is practically quite difficult to achieve because in small fields, almost everyone knows what your peers are doing. So if you do receive a paper from from a person that's not listed as an author, you will know who it belongs to. The last version, which would be the most beneficial in terms of transparency, will be an open review where both the reviewers and the authors are named. Lastly, there's a type of review called transparent review, where the reports that each reviewer has submitted during the review process are published alongside the published article. And this is rather helpful for understanding, for opening up the review process, something that wasn't so common some years ago. So what do we as editors and reviewers, what are we looking for in a scientific piece of paper? So the main point is that the paper adheres to the publication criteria of each specific journal. In the case of PLOS 1, what we look at is whether the paper reports primary scientific research. We do not accept literary reviews, essays, or commentaries. And another thing is whether it has been published before. It needs to be original research. In Importantly, the study needs to be technically sound, and this is specific to PLOS One. We do consider any study that's technically sound, regardless of its perceived impact or novelty. So are the experiments, the statistics, and all the analysis performed and described well? Do the data support the conclusions? Is the paper written well? And this is quite important. Papers that are clearly written tend to go through the review process a lot more quickly than those that do not, mainly because reviewers and editors understand what the research question set out is. And lastly, does it meet the research ethics and integrity standards of the particular journal? And also, importantly, is the data available? And this is important for reproducibility of the results. What else should you be thinking about before you submit to a journal? So again, it's important to look at each particular journal editorial and publishing policies to adhere to the best practice in research reporting, and each field does adhere to different types of guidelines, so you should check this for your particular research. You should consider whether your work includes animal or human subject research, because each one of these will require different types of ethical approval by different ethical committees. It's important to declare any competing interests that you may hold as an author. This is important for the interpretation of the results and also for the presentation of the results, that they're not biased. So the reader will be able to evaluate the validity of the conclusions of the work. Same with the competing interest. It's important to disclose the funding sources. And as we said before, data availability. And alongside with data availability, it's important to consider whether the materials and softwares that you're presenting, whether you are able to share these. And this is all important for reproducibility of the results presented. Publication ethics, as we've mentioned before, with regards to animal and human subject research, but also with regards to things like copying text from previous publications. And so this is more the tedious bit, the submission guidelines and formatting of each particular journal. Different journals have different things. So common issues that editors see. It's basically a negative version of everything we talked about so far. So we see papers that are not well written or they're not clear. The aim of the research is unclear, so it's very difficult for reviewers to follow the thread of the argument. Poor reporting, this is quite common, and again, it's part of poor language. It's cases where the methodology is not well described, so the reviewers can't really address how the experiments were done, whether all the controls were reported, and again, this ties back to whether the conclusions will be supported by the data presented. This is what we've described before, insufficiently described method section, undeclared competing interests, unclear ethics approval, unwillingness to share data. This is rather important. And insufficient discussion and citation of previous literature. This is also very important with regards to putting your findings in the context as what's already known. And insufficient discussion of study limitations. Again, this is to make sure that the conclusions of the work are well supported by the data.
Thanks, Alejandra. So that's a great summary of traditional peer review and some of the issues that we see at PLOS and that the generally publishing community sees when papers are submitted. So what we're doing this year with the online Jamboree, with the PLOS iGEM project, is a slightly alternative approach to peer review. And this is very experimental. It's something that we certainly are trying for the first time. But it really addresses two of the issues that Alejandra touched on there. The first is the transparency of the review process. And therefore, we're looking at what we call open review. And in this instance, it will be reviewers who are named giving feedback directly to the authors. So there's no interaction between the reviewer and the editor at this stage. It's just direct feedback. The other aspect of this is that it's very much up to the community, therefore, not only to review the papers, but also to make some kind of decision about whether they think it's fit for publication. A lot of the time, this very much one's ethos that PLOS One editors do not make decisions on papers. Those are made by academic editors, working scientists and researchers. And that's very much what we're looking at here with the online Jamboree, is that it will be the community who decide whether the paper is a well-written piece of research and that it meets the publication criteria. So what we'll be doing on the 22nd, once all the submissions are in, is we'll be carrying out a number of ethical and technical checks on the papers. And all these submissions will receive this feedback on the 28th during the event. That'll be carried out by our staff editors here. And then we'll be hoping that papers are reviewed in an open way. So authors will be able to respond directly to reviewers, and we'll be looking shortly at some of the tools that will allow us to do that in the platform. And then, yes, the community will decide whether a paper or not is appropriate for publication. So this really is an experiment in open community review, and that's why we've teamed up with Breezio and developed this platform that provides the tools that allows authors and reviewers to interact in real time. So you'll be able to receive feedback directly, respond to that feedback. And I think one thing that's really important to point out here is, as Alejandra said, peer review is reviewed by your peers. And so we really want to emphasize that we really want teams to be online. We want you to review each other's papers, providing constructive feedback to improve each other's submissions. This isn't just about staff at PLOS or experts in the field providing feedback, even though we will be doing that, but it's really an opportunity for you all to engage in the peer review process. Once the event has taken place, all the teams will have 1 month to revise their papers, to take into account the feedback they received, and to update their submissions according to that feedback. And then you have an option, and we'll send more information at the time, whether you'd like to do a full submission to PLOS One. And obviously one of the requirements there will be meeting the publication criteria of the journal. And that's one of the things we'll be looking at in our technical checks of the papers. The other option is that you can post your paper to the PLOS Collections blog. All the submissions will be included in the collection. And we're also looking at the moment at ways that we could possibly find a more official publication route for those that do not meet the research article criteria. But we'll have more information about that in due course. So I'm now going to hand you over to Laura, who works for Breezio, and she's going to take you through the platform and give you some examples about how you can use the tools that are available and how the Jamboree will work.
Thanks, Nathaniel. All right, I'm going to start screen sharing here. And let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep, we can.
Awesome. All right, so this is the Breezio platform. It's synbioplos.breezio.com. And I'm just going to go ahead and sign out for a second so you can see basically where you'll land when you come right to the home page. So before login, you can see quite a few things here. PLOS has a welcome room. We'll go into that in a second. All of these rooms have information that you'll find very useful for reviewers and submissions. But the main location for where you'll find everything about the live peer review event will be in this welcome room. So the first thing you'll want to do is sign up for an account if you already haven't done that so you can participate. You will need to have an account to do the live peer review. So please do that. But once you log in, and there we go. Once you're logged in, again, you'll just see, you'll spend a little bit of time creating your profile page. From this menu, your account settings will allow you to edit and drag in your profile picture and any type of information that you want to put in here. The more you enter here, the more searchable you are, and the more information people can find to network with you. So at very minimum, put a profile picture in of some sort. So the default will be an initial of your first name if not. So I think that's one of the big tips. But yeah, from from here, you can create your account, update your account. You can tag your skills. Again, making yourself very searchable in the system. So that's the first step of participating, is just to get that account created. And right now, I'll go into the main room, which is just to welcome you and kind of give you an idea of what's in store for the live event and how you participate all the way up until the live event. So you'll see here today, this is the main event. Today, the training event. You can go in here and sign up and register, add it to your calendar. If you'll be attending the event, so we can see that. You'll get updates if there's any updates from there. I'll go into this welcome article that Nathaniel has created, and basically all of the information in the welcome room is set up so that you understand like where we're going to be meeting, any type of submission timelines, how you're going to get started. So feel free to check out the welcome room. It's got lots of information that you'll find useful all the way up until the live event and during the event. During the event, too, you can use this happening now feature to see where all the action is. So you can see right now there's 3 people in this training meeting spot, which we'll go into in a second. And I was just in the welcome room. If anyone's hopping on a video conference, you'll see that here. So you'll be able to see where all the live action is at during the event with that happening now. And I'm just going to click on this and go right to the training meeting spot. And here we are. So the day of the event, there'll probably be another article like this that provides information, any last minute information or any directional information about the event that day. But you'll notice right now, you'll see like Nathaniel, here that he is, my colleague Chris. We're live right now in this article together. I can see where each person is at, where their mouse is at. And if I wanted to, I can chat directly with a person that I see and have a one-on-one conversation with them. And it'll be directed at this particular post. So that's the first thing you can do to introduce yourself as you're going through the live peer review. But during the peer review event, all of the submissions will have this look and feel, and you'll notice these inline bubbles. So you can open up a comment and ask a question. You can @mention someone, so I'm going to @mention Nathaniel. From there, and you'll see right away it indicates it lights up. It indicates there's a comment. Nathaniel can see it. It lights up, and he can reply. I can edit. I can delete. You could report something if you needed to. But basically, once you open up per paragraph in line, you can start a dialogue. Very easily go back and forth for this particular paragraph, for any question that you have, any comment, any type of clarification that you have. You'll notice here too the primary author and any co-authors of the paper. So you can see their names if you have a direct comment or question that you want to ask them. You can mention people and really have a deep dialogue in line per paragraph of this whole submission. So you can imagine this can get pretty lively if there's a lot of people in here reviewing it. And in line per paragraph, people are providing feedback on your work, your research, asking questions, providing insights. And I've seen this get pretty lively. I've seen these live events have 20 or so people in it, so it'll light up and it feels, oh, there we go. You'll get a notification if there's a comment directed at you. That one was directed at me. And so this is pretty much the day of the event, the day of the live peer review event. Each of the submission articles, you'll have the opportunity to go in, read them, and inline go through this type of dialogue and see at the same time who else is in the article here. And you'll see them going up and down the right side of the thing, the page, so you can chat with them. A couple more things to note too. If you do find that you wanted to chat with someone, there is a video conference available. The main event that day, though, is not going to be focused on having a video conference, but it is a feature of the system. If you wanted to have a one-on-one chat with someone, that's why that button is there, but it's not going to be part of the main event. The peer review process itself, what we're hoping to see is this lively dialogue inline per paragraph to really help with the work that you'll be doing. So this is again the main look and feel of the submission pieces. And I'll go back to the rooms. Again, the welcome room is going to have tons of information. You can find out how to submit here. The reviewer's instructions will be here. There's a reviewer's guide that's posted. And let's see, I think we even have submissions at this point. We do. We have one submission. So, you know, you'll see the format that PLOS has laid out. You know, it's got the abstract, everything in here. So this is going to be more like what during the live event, how you'll be reviewing and inline commenting in an article like this to help your peers. Nathaniel, did you want to talk about any of the submission instructions or any of the actual formatting or?
Yeah, sure. I think in terms of the submission instructions, everything should be clearly laid out within the room. So you should be able to find all the information you need. Let me just share my screen. If I can.
Do I have to stop sharing mine for the?
Okay, well, oh, there we go. That's me now. So one thing I think it is worth pointing out are just the review instructions that we've posted, or the reviewer guide. And I think, you know, this obviously goes through some of the mechanics that Laura's just gone through about signing up and the use of the inline chat, and also the fact that you can leave longer comments if you want to at the bottom of an article. And as Alejandra said, I think there are a number of things we want people to consider when they're reviewing papers. But I think the main ones really are, as we mentioned, does the study present the results of primary scientific research? Is the manuscript and analysis technically sound? Do the other conclusions supported by the data? And is that data available? That's very important. PLOS has a data policy which does request that all data is available that allow people to reproduce the work that has been reported, and is the manuscript presented correctly and well written. I think the things we really want to emphasize here as well are, you know, when you're reviewing other people's work, remember to be constructive with your comments and keep that at heart when you're providing feedback to the authors. We do want this to be a very positive and constructive experience, so please bear that in mind. And also at the same time, I would say to authors that remember that your peers and your colleagues are here to help you improve your work. So try not to take too much to heart. These are not criticisms of your work. These are attempts to improve your reporting of that work. And I think mainly the one thing to remember is to have fun. We really hope that lots of people will take part and there'll be lively engagement within the article. And we really hope this will be a positive experience for everyone involved, and that it leads to some really excellent submissions to PLOS. So
I have one thing. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. Do you have your Rezio up? Or I can't see what. There we go. That's what we're sharing. So I stopped sharing my screen. My user doesn't have the, there's lots of user types in the Breezio system, but for the students that will be submitting, they will have access to the create button. And I was wondering if you could bring up your portal, because I know you have that button, and show that, because it was a different view for me because I didn't have that permission setting on mine. But that is how, I don't know if you wanted to go over that process at all with the actual, I just wanted to actually point that out, that that's how you'll be creating the content in the portal, is through that create button. And I apologize, I didn't have that permission setting on my account that I was just demonstrating with.
Okay, oh, there we go. So you should be able to see my screen now. So the create button basically is the way that you can go in, and here you can see, as I am an admin, I can do various things within the portal. I can create a new discussion. So if you wanted to create a new discussion, you'd be welcome to do that. Obviously, corresponding authors would have received information about how to create an article and templates and things like that, and also how to create a room. And I think the key thing to bear in mind is that you can always ask for any help on when you're in the portal. So for example, if you were to open up the chat, you can see who's available. So you can see that Breezio support is available right now, as is Laura. My colleague Patrick and I will also be available if people have questions. And obviously, if you can't find what you need within the portal, you can always email us at collections@plos.org. I think, you know, we should have instructions within the portal that should give you everything you need, but obviously don't hesitate to contact us if that isn't the case. So I think that's pretty much everything we had to present. I'm just wondering if there are any questions that have come in the chat. Nothing there. So as I say, we'll be posting this to YouTube. You'll be able to watch it at any time. And yeah, we really look forward to seeing you on the 28th and taking part in the online Jamboree. Thanks, everyone.